Capricorn. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for May of 2022. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
I'm Julia Mijas in San Francisco.
Well, Capricorn, are you thinking about moving house? Got an urge to move to the area that's always called to you, or maybe wanting to relocate for a job or school? This could very well be the year for it, and this month's horoscope has clues for you. You'll find out why really quickly. And if further questions arise from this horoscope and you want to know more about moving or any other topic, you can find a link for the natal and transit reading in the YouTube description below. Well, let me get into it right away as to why I spoke about moving. Jupiter has been traveling along through Pisces, which is your third house, right here. And it's going to be shifting on into your fourth house this month, around the middle of the month. And the fourth house is the house of home and family, domestic life, heritage, and roots. And Jupiter is a luck bringer. So if you've been wanting to move, and Jupiter's going to be spending about a year in this house, not all in one chunk, but in several pieces. And so you're entering into the best year in a 12-year cycle for like locating a new home, getting a lease, making the purchase, putting down roots, maybe moving closer to family if that's something that you want, or starting a family. This can also be a really good transit for fertility. So that's really great stuff. Happy to tell you about that. And it's the kind of luck that when you are having this kind of a luck period, you might not know. And so it's really good to know the exact timing of it and then to take action on it and actually lock in that luck while it's happening. So the next thing I want to tell you about is that Ceres is changing signs. Ceres is presently finishing out Gemini and about to move on ahead into the sign of Cancer. And this brings her into your seventh house. Now, Ceres is all about good stewardship. She's a caretaker. She's the Earth Mother, and she likes you to take really good care of your physical world life. So taking good care of your body and how you eat and the money that you make. When Ceres travels into the seventh house, she likes you to organize your relationship, and in particular to put some good practices into place around the shared bubble of health that you have with your partner. So starting to eat better with your partner, cook better, cook more with your partner, perhaps pay more attention to what your partner's dietary needs are and how they can fit with your own, and setting up some really good schedules for your domestic life. That's a really good use for this transit of Ceres, which will last a couple of months. I'll tell you when it ends. Then Juno is presently traveling along through the third house, and she is an asteroid goddess to do with committed relationship. And in the next couple of months, she's going to continue in this house and go retrograde. And so what's over the horizon, not quite visible yet, but coming, is some communication conflicts with your partner, any long-term committed partners that you may have, whether that is somebody that you live with and have for some time, somebody that you are married to or considering being married to, or a business partner. So watch for those communication kerfuffles coming in the next couple of months and get ready to clean them up. Then, Julia, I want to turn it over to you to talk about Mercury and Venus and Mars.
Yeah, so much going on with Mercury, especially because Mercury is doing its retrograde cycle this month, starting it up. And this happens about 3 times a year. So Capricorn, all of this Mercury action is going to be happening in your 6th house. And Mercury starts the month in the 6th. Now, Mercury is the planet of your mind. Wherever we have it is where our minds tend to be preoccupied with things. And Mercury also represents communication. So at the very beginning of the month, with Mercury in the 6th, the 6th house is the house of work. It's the house of organization. It's the house of your routines, and it's the house of your health too. So with Mercury in the 6th house, your mind might be preoccupied with your job. If you do any writing, speaking, teaching, buying and selling, which are all ruled by Mercury for your work, it can be, as well as tech too. Mercury is a technical planet. It can be a fruitful time at the job as well. And Mercury in the 6th can be very good for doing a bit of spring cleaning and organizing everything in your house, whether you have to organize the hard drive on your computer or a Tupperware drawer. But then on May 10th, Mercury is going to go retrograde in this house. And so when Mercury's retrograde, it's a time of miscommunications and a time of review. So you could face miscommunications at your job, maybe with your boss or your coworkers or your clients, for example. And Mercury retrograde might be a time of reviewing and rethinking things, especially 6th house matters. So that could go from everything such as an organizational resource of yours, or maybe you're rethinking some of your health strategies as well. Like, ooh, should I get a second opinion? Should I try this out? Those could all be implicated by this symbolism. But then on May 21st, in the fog of the Mercury retrograde, we're going to get a little burst of clarity. And that burst of clarity is called Lesser Epiphany Day. And that's when, retrograding Mercury hits the sun exactly to the exact degree. And that's usually a time of a little bit more clarity and some insights into the whole retrograde cycle. So around May 21st, you might get some insights in your job, you might get some insights in your health, or maybe you're getting some insights about how you want to go forward with making sure your routines and your organization in your life is all running very smoothly. Now we're going to talk about Venus, because that's the planet of art, beauty, and relationships. So she's a pretty important planet to keep a track of. And the very first day of the month, she's in your 3rd house, bringing her harmony and peacefulness to your communications and relationship with your siblings. Then by May 2nd, so very early on in the month, she's going into your 4th house of family and home. And she's going to be there until the 28th. So, this transit is taking place for most of the month. So when Venus is in the 4th, wherever we have Venus, we get along well with people, and we even find a little bit of luck and pleasure. And that's all happening in your 4th house. So that could mean you're getting along really well with your parents and family, or maybe you're just getting along well with your roommates, the people you live with. If you're in a relationship, this is definitely more of a Netflix and chill time with your partner, where you might just want to hang out and have some quiet little domestic routines together, like cook together and do stuff like that, kind of. Jamie had mentioned some. And but Venus in the 4th can also be really nice for making your home more beautiful in some way, like painting a room or buying some little luxury item for your home, so that you really just enjoy it and get a lot out of the home place. Then on May 28th, Venus goes into one of her favorite houses, which is the 5th house. And the 5th house is definitely the funnest house in the zodiac. It represents games. It represents places of amusements like festivals and clubs and casinos and bars and stuff of that nature. So when Venus hops into the 5th house, it's a really wonderful time for dating too, because that's what the 5th house represents. So great for all the single Capricorns out there. And Venus in the 5th house might give you a little bit more luck and pleasure in anything artistic or creative that you're making, because that's also ruled by the 5th. And it's a wonderful time with your children, if you have some, where you guys will be getting along really nicely. Now we're going to talk about Mars, which is the planet of action, activity. Wherever we have it, we're really, really driven that month. And for most of the month, Mars is going to be in your 3rd house. Now, the 3rd house is the house of communication. It also represents your local community and surroundings, like your neighborhood. It also rules neighbors, as well as your brothers and sisters. So when Mars is in the 3rd house, you could feel really kind of energized and activated by taking a lot of little trips around your neighborhood, or maybe going on some short journeys, like a little weekend trip, or going to a local park. Now, Mars in the 3rd, the one caution with with Mars in the third is it can sometimes make you a little bit sharper with your words, because the third house is the house of communication. So you might be a little too assertive at times, maybe a little sharp with your tongue too. So as long as you're kind of aware of that, that can definitely go a long way to helping to sort of mitigate that. And Mars in the third might be a time where you're not seeing eye to eye with your siblings either. Then by May 24th, Mars enters your fourth house. It'll be in there the same day as Venus, and then Venus is kind of getting out pretty quickly as Mars moves in. And Mars in the fourth house will be a time of high energy in your home environment, maybe with lots of projects and things around the house to do. However, it can also be a time of frustrations and a little bit of disagreements, either with the people you live with or with family members too. So it's kind of like once Venus moves out, Mars moves in, and you get kind of a different shift in energy there.
Yeah, it's definitely a different feel.
Oh, very
Well,
much.
I have a couple of moons and a seasonal change to talk about. The first one is the full moon in Scorpio, which lands in your 11th house, opposite the sun in Taurus in the 5th. And what makes this a special full moon that we call an eclipse is the fact that the moon is conjunct one of the two nodes. The sun is as well. This is a pretty strong eclipse. It's a total eclipse. It's also in Scorpio. So any of those factors alone would make this intense, but put them all together and it's quite intense. This lands in your 11th house of friends, community, tribe, groups, people of like mind that you feel a sense of belonging with. And this could really lead to some big emotions, even outbursts of emotion, and upset, possibly. Somebody in the group feels a sense of bitterness or resentment or not belonging, might even be you. And so there could be some pretty big emotions going on in friendship circles for you during this eclipse. You can find out more about this eclipse, and I recommend that you do, in the video that we've made about it, which is found on our monthly forecast page. And will live in perpetuity on our YouTube channel, Pandora Astrology, in the May 2022 news playlist. The next event that I want to tell you about is that the sun will fairly quickly, about a week later, leave Taurus and enter Gemini. So this brings us into the season of Gemini. In Western astrology, we think of these as seasons, not constellations. And so this is the 30 days that the sun is moving along through this sign. And as Julia said a moment ago, the sun meets up with Mercury just as it's entering Gemini. And so this is Lesser Epiphany Day, and the sun enters into and begins to light up your 6th house, which is a house of routines and rhythms, particularly the kinds of routines that enable you to live in a more organized way. This is also a house of work and service. And so it can describe your work environment. Wherever the sun goes, it's a really good idea to shine the spotlight of your high quality attention, because that way things will thrive. And so during the 30 days of Gemini season, pay attention to things at work. Put some high quality attention, shine that golden light on your coworkers so that your connections with them can thrive. If there are people who work under you, this is a really good time to cultivate those connections and those workers. And if you're looking to hire, this can be a really good time to pay attention to that stack of resumes that you've got to look through and make a good judgment on who to bring in. So the sun travels along through this house for the rest of the month and into next month. And I want to tell you about the final moon of this month, which is happening on the 30th. And that's right here when the sun and the moon join up in Gemini in your 6th house again. So this is a great time for the planting of seeds and new beginnings, as all new moons are, because it's landing in your 6th house. And it's bringing, the nurturing qualities of the moon, the intellectual and communicative qualities of Gemini, and the solar qualities of high quality attention all together into a perfect storm. This could really be a great time for hiring that personal assistant that you've been wanting. All right, that is the good stuff that we have for you, Capricorn. Hope you enjoyed it. You can find more of the news of this month on our forecast page at our website, pandoraastrology.com. If anything that you've heard here today makes you want a reading, you can find that in the readings tab. And if you are moved to take an astrology class, there are interesting things going on this year in that realm, and you can find that in the classes tab. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye-bye.
Bye.